There's been a lot of talk about Nikki Haley this week and how she's staying in the race despite having worse odds than the New York Mets winning next year's Super Bowl. I have to say, I'm actually glad she's staying in the race because even if you don't agree with her politics, she still really pisses Donald Trump off. And that's a beautiful thing. She is clearly on his enemies list, along with the law and waistbands. But she's not just the only Trump alternative in the GOP race. According to the media, she's also the only moderate one.
Nikki Haley has sort of this moderate, old-school republicanism.
She's become the candidate of the moderates.
A moderate candidate like Nikki Haley, who is increasingly an outsider in the Republican Party.
Yes, obviously, Nikki Haley is a moderate. It's something that everybody knows, like Joe Biden is old, or RFK is a biohazard, or Tim Scott is crying on the inside. It's just a fact that nobody disputes. But is it a fact? Is Nikki Haley the moderate in the race? Because when you actually take a look at her policies, they aren't that different from Trump. She also wants to build the wall. She also wants mass deportations. She's also opposed to Obamacare and the Paris Climate Accords. And in fact, on abortion, she's even more extreme than Trump. She supports a national ban after 6 weeks, before most women even know that they're pregnant. At 6 weeks, the symptoms are fatigue and stomach issues, and women can't take a pregnancy test every time they get bubble guts. It's not that she doesn't care about women's issues. It's that she has a very unmoderate idea of what women's issues are.
The idea that we have biological boys playing in girls' sports, it is the women's issue of our time.
Really, Nikki? That's the women's issue of our time? Not abortion access or equal pay or even how to part your hair so teens don't bully you? Never thought I'd say this, but Nikki Haley is so bad at knowing what women actually want, I think maybe her husband should order for her at restaurants. So most of her policies aren't more moderate than Trump. And if you ask her, she herself doesn't identify as a moderate.
On the campaign trail, Haley has made it very clear that she says she's not a moderate.
I have been a conservative fighter all my life. I was a Tea Party candidate when I became governor, and we passed one of the toughest illegal immigration laws in the country. We passed pro-life bills. We took on the unions, and we took on Obama when it came to the unions, the Syrian refugees, and everything in between.
Guys, she says she's not a moderate. Believe women. So again, if she doesn't say she's a moderate and her policies aren't moderate, why is everyone calling her a moderate? I guess it could be her demeanor. She's certainly the only candidate speaking at her moderate volume. And you got Trump screaming so loud, AT&T satellites are exploding. And then you got Biden at every press conference whispering to the ghost of Christmas past. Just using a proper inside voice is going to seem like a breath of fresh air. But that can't be all of it. When it comes down to it, there's only one real difference between Nikki Haley and Donald Trump that's getting her this label.
Do I think Joe Biden is the legitimate president? Yes.
Wow, what a reasonable, middle-of-the-road answer. The man who won the election won the election. But that's where we're at. That is the big split in the Republican Party today. Do you think Joe Biden won the election, or did you take a shit on Nancy Pelosi's desk? But the media is not used to discussing democracy versus fascism. They're used to discussing left versus right. So they put Donald Trump on the far right, and anybody who didn't storm the Capitol becomes a moderate. But that means that any Republican, no matter what their views are, gets labeled as a moderate just because they believe in democracy. Like Georgia Governor Brian Kemp. He's been called the most conservative governor in Georgia's history, but he also doesn't think the election was stolen, so now people call him a moderate. Or Liz Cheney, she denies climate change, she's anti-abortion, and she loves bombing other countries just as much as her dad. Yeah, she's a Nepo bomber. She loves bombing other countries so much, she thought Oppenheimer was the first season of an ABC sitcom. But because she says that Trump lost, guess what she's called?
You've got Liz Cheney being a female voice in the Republican Party, demanding a more moderate approach.
The thoughtful, moderate, pro-Constitution Republicans like Liz Cheney.
And you might be wondering, why does it even matter? So what if the media mistakenly calls some conservatives moderates? Sometimes I call my husband my ex-boyfriend's name. It's fine. He barely notices. He left me. But it does matter, because the word moderate means much more than just believing Joe Biden won the election. Most people still think that it means not extreme or willing to compromise. So when the media attaches this label to candidates who support abortion bans and endless wars, that makes those beliefs sound moderate, but they're not. And the media should not be labeling them as moderates just because they passed the low bar of not overthrowing the government. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I'm getting emotional about this, but I just believe that having biological conservatives competing in moderate sports, that is the women's issue of our time.